While most Americans are treating every job like a stepping stone, LinkedIn updated, resume polished, quietly marked open to opportunities, there's a group of people who just stayed. Same desk, same company, same industry, for a decade or more. And the people around them had something to say about it. Comfortable, no ambition, scared to start over somewhere new. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the median job tenure in America right now is 3.9 years, the lowest in over 2 decades. Only 28% of American workers have been with the same employer for 10 years or more. So if that's you, you're not the default. You're the exception. Being the exception doesn't mean being wrong. Job hopping is rational, the data supports it. Pew Research found that workers who switched jobs saw nearly twice the wage growth of those who stayed. The Great Resignation happened because millions of people correctly calculated that the labor market would reward movement in ways their current employers wouldn't. And they were right. Which is exactly why the people who didn't feel that pull, even when they could, are worth understanding. What psychologists found isn't what most people assume. Carol Dweck at Stanford spent decades researching 2 fundamentally different orientations toward achievement. Some people need external markers, title changes, salary jumps, a new company name on the resume to feel like they're moving. Others are oriented toward mastery. They care about getting better at the work itself, not what it signals to anyone watching. Long-tenured employees are overwhelmingly in the second group. They don't announce it. They don't need to. Not because they don't want recognition, because somewhere along the way, they stopped confusing the signal with the substance. And what leaving actually costs is harder to calculate than most people admit. Job postings don't list what disappears when you go. The informal trust network colleagues who route things around bureaucracy tell you what's actually happening before it's official. The organizational memory. The map of how things actually work versus how the org chart says they should. When you leave, you start over as a competent stranger. Research from SHRM, the Society for Human Resource Management, puts the average time to full productivity after a job change at 12 to 18 months in complex roles. That's a year of running slower than you were. The salary bump rarely covers what that costs. Most people don't run that number. They run the offer letter. People who stay 10 years didn't fail to calculate the upside of leaving. They calculated more carefully than most. And something else accumulates carefully that doesn't appear on any resume. Amy Wierzynski at Yale spent years studying how people relate to their work over time. Long-tenured employees develop a kind of knowledge that even talented newer people don't have access to yet. Not technical knowledge, contextual knowledge. The understanding of why certain decisions get made, who actually influences what, where the real conversations happen before they become official. You've seen this person. Everyone has. The one who's been in the same role for over a decade while managers rotate above them every 2 years. The one people quietly find their way to in the first month of any new initiative, not for the answer, but for the map. That's not tenure. That's institutional capital. And it compounds quietly, invisibly, until it becomes the thing everything else is built on. Not every person who stays a decade chose it consciously. Some just kept not leaving the years accumulated. The options felt smaller. Staying became the path of least resistance. The work compounded, or the person did. Those two things look identical from the outside. Only one of them is. The one that is looks like this. Anders Ericsson, the psychologist at Florida State whose research on expert performance underpins most of what we understand about mastery, found that elite performance in any domain doesn't come from variety. It comes from sustained, focused engagement with the same problem over years. What most career strategies optimize for is exposure. New environments, new skill sets, new frameworks to add to a resume. What 10 years in the same field builds is something different. The ability to see what isn't visible yet, to recognize a situation before it fully develops, to make decisions that look effortless from the outside because the knowledge underneath them is invisible to anyone who hasn't done the time. Breadth is useful, depth is rare, and rare has a weight that breadth never produces. If you're a man, that weight gets misread. The man who doesn't chase titles, who's been at the same company for a decade without loudly climbing, gets read as either comfortably mediocre or quietly powerful. The difference between those two readings has almost nothing to do with him. It depends entirely on whether the people around him understand what he's actually built. Most won't until they need it. They spent a decade building a wider table. You spent a decade making yours stronger. The depth doesn't show. You know what's holding the weight. Which part landed closest the calculation, the invisible influence or the depth? Tell me in the comments. And if someone in your life has been told they're playing it safe for staying put, send this to them. Sometimes just having the psychology explained changes how the whole thing feels.